Perfect.
All right, I'll send you the feed here. Have a good show.
And we're live on Facebook. I mean, come on. Insane.
The moons are all aligning for us.
And my husband just walked out the door. So it's quiet.
Oh, it's nice. That's good.
Yeah. I was like, you're going to have to be quiet. No speaking right now. No typing.
Welcome to Lead Up for Women. Speak up to lead up with Colleen Biggs. Are you ready to lead without permission and take the steps needed to live your best life? Whether you want to start the business of your dreams or celebrate your present and future accomplishments, you're definitely in the right place. Now, here is your host, Colleen Biggs.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to Lead Up for Women, Speak Up to Lead Up. I'm your host, Colleen Biggs, and I am so happy that you are with us, even in the times of what's happening right now. Like even more, I want to encourage all of you listening to go find more podcasts to listen to, more educational material to read. Really indulge yourself at this time for educational purposes. I feel like the more that we're putting the good in our minds and the more that we're soaking up the positive things that are happening, we're able to deflect some of the fear and the panic and the negative news. And I just want to acknowledge that for a minute because we are in a time that's unprecedented. That means it's never been before, which means none of us really know what to do with what's going on today. So we can't always be expected to just be able to wake up every day in a great mood, have the best mindset, and just move ourselves forward. And that's okay. Give yourself some grace. It's okay to not maybe be in the best mood when you wake up. The most beautiful part about what we have today with being able to be home and connected with family and kind of on a forced lockdown, I guess I would call it, is we have the opportunity to slow down throughout our day. I like to do that first thing in the morning. So I just want to encourage all of you to take some time to connect with yourself, to be able to have some silent time where you're not super busy. Because if your calendar looks anything like mine, I have not cleaned out one closet. I have not done one chore. And I have not completed one project that I have in my house because I am on Facebook Live all day long with experts. And I'm doing it because I want to bring all of the experts to the spotlight in the forefront to give you advice, to give you free opportunities to talk with them, to get free books, free downloads, whatever it may be that they offer. You have the opportunity to chat and listen and gain some additional knowledge. If anything, you get to be inspired and motivated for the day. So that is what I wanted to say opening the show today. We're in a new time and it's okay to not know what to do. But I do believe if we wake up every day saying, I'm going to replace panic with possibilities, what is possible for me today? Just really lean and grasp to the good and the positive of what's happening. Always find the silver lining in it. So I want to welcome some guests I have today. I have the pleasure of having a special co-host with me today that some of you might remember from our last podcast that we did, which is Kay Hutchison. Kay, hello, and welcome again, all the way from overseas.
Lovely to be with you again and with guests, and all of the things that you've said. I mean, it really chimes for me, even although I'm thousands of miles away.
Yeah.
Still the same for us here too.
It's worldwide, right? It's worldwide. And I also am welcoming Diva, Danielle Williams. Hello, Diva.
Hello. How are you today? You look great.
Oh, thanks. So good. You look beautiful yourself. And
I had to put in a little effort today.
Oh, girl, you look good. You look good. I love it that you dress up every day when you go to chemo. We'll get into that story. But whatever it is that you're doing, you're just always dolled up as if you're stepping out in Hollywood. And I just think that's feel good, right?
Yes, it is. It makes you feel real good. You got to put that best foot forward. Right?
That's all we can do. It's all we can do. And then I have our visionary expert with us, Carey Conley. Carey, welcome to the show.
Well, I'm glad to be back.
I'm so happy that you're here. I have interviewed Carey on Facebook Live as one of our experts, and I'm happy to interview her multiple times if needed, and whatever platform it is that I have, because every time I'm with Carey, she always brings a very unique perspective and is extremely helpful in giving tips on how you can implement something immediately in your life. Right. So Carey, thank you for being here. And I know we've all learned a lot and have so much to talk about today. And I also wanted to remind everybody, you know, for Lead Up for Women, we are online all the time, right? So I didn't even plan it that way. That's the scary part. So when I built Lead Up for Women, I started with luncheons, and then we have the, you know, printed and digital magazine. And we started the radio show. It's been a year now. I mean, it's just been over a year. I think our first show was the 28th of March. So we had our 1-year anniversary this past few days. And no, that was not an April Fool's joke at all, even though this is April Fool's today. It really has been a year. And yes, we're in a pandemic. That's not an April Fool's either. What would be really cool is if they were like, all right, everyone's locked down. April Fool's, you can go out of your houses now and go do whatever you want and go to work, right? That would just be the best. That would be the best April Fool's joke they could ever do today. But anyway, we know that's not going to happen. So what I was talking about was we have all these platforms that are digital and have just continued to create these webinars and everything possible. And now is the time in your business. And I want to give this little piece of advice. No matter how you've built your business, I know Carey, for example, does in-person workshops. That's how I met Diva, was at an in-person workshop. We necessarily don't have the chance all the time to keep our business stagnant where it is, right? Always has to be innovating, always has to be growing. You have to be able to pivot in a moment's notice. I call this a moment's notice, that you have had to pivot, everyone's had to pivot their day, their life, their existence, their business. So I'm talking to those people out there that own businesses or work in corporate. I feel now is a great time for you to dig in deep and work on the things in your life personally. Clean out this closet, this me closet that you got going on, right? There's a lot of online opportunities for that, which I know Carey will talk a little bit about as well. Mm-hmm. But it's an opportunity for you to really reach into your business and say, hey, how can I scale this? How can I reach my customers that I need to reach in a time when I don't have the opportunity to step out in front of them? So we're working hard behind the scenes to be able to get out there and offer virtual business cards, which are easy cards. We've been offering Facebook Live chat, whatever we can do, that's what we do. It supports women, it lifts women, it brings us together as a community, it empowers, it inspires. If it does that, we're in. And that's the goal. So Kay, I just wanted to ask you a question. You've been through a lot in your life, and we interviewed you last week, and then I welcomed you back as my co-host. You wrote a book about 37 therapies, and I know that it just went to an audiobook, so I wanted you to tell our listeners about that. But how could your book that you wrote help many of the people today that are around the world in going through what we're going through?
It's really interesting because the book is about a time in my life where everything kind of collapsed. It was all went into crisis. And what I'm finding is that there are similarities with what we're going through now, and how I spent a lot of time on my own, living alone, no TV, no internet, no nothing, and not really communicating very much with people. And then to add to that, it's not a pity me party at all, but I lost my job. So I ended up with huge amounts of time on my own. And I think I ended up looking at therapies, doing more yoga, doing things which I'm finding at the moment are extremely helpful. And I'm finding and learning new yoga styles because, of course, I'm looking online because I can't go to all my classes. So I'm finding new people online. I'm finding new approaches to yoga, people who are not so interested in the postures, but more interested in the kind of spiritual and mental aspects of calming the mind and yoga. And I'm really enjoying that. But I mean, the book, this is what it looks like. And I think there are some things, if you don't want to buy the book, there's actually things on my website, kayhutchison.com, which are free. There's a therapy tour of all the 37 therapies. And I'm still adding more therapies to the list and actually trying to update with more information. But the audiobook just came out this week on Spotify, if anyone wants a quick listen. And of course, the beauty of Spotify is you can just listen to little clips of it if you want. But I think the lessons for me are that actually many of the things that I did on my own are absolutely right now. And even if there are some of the things, as you were saying, you met Diva face to face at one of her events. But actually, many of the things that I did that you can't actually do face to face now, you can learn about online for the time when we all get back to some semblance of normality. And there are lots of fantastic things to learn about crystal therapy. You can learn about numerology, about aromatherapy, about massage, different Reiki, reflexology, quantum therapy. There's all kinds of interesting things that could occupy your mind if you have time. But actually, Colleen, you said something really, really important there. I think it's still quite difficult to carve out time to actually do other things, because I think despite the fact that we're told, we have to self-isolate or distance ourselves from others, I'm still finding that life is very, very full because we've replaced it with many of the things that you're talking about. But I think you do have to make sure you carve out time to look after yourself, because if you're strong, you can actually do, I think, a better job out there helping other people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the name of your book, for those listening, is My Life in 37 Therapies, and it's available now on Spotify. So I do recommend, and it's Kay Hutchison is who the author is and who's with us today. So Kay, thank you very much for sharing a snippet of your story and why I really feel like indulging in reading and taking the time to set aside time, carve it out for what we need to right now is super important. And I've been giving the tip all week. And I think one of my guests yesterday said, tip number 1, stop watching the news. I was like, okay, girl, let's go with it. I love that. And why I loved what she said was you can go online and get the information you need that happened in the last 24 hours in about 2 minutes and prepare yourself for what's happening for the next 24 hours. That's all. I mean, I think the more that we allow background filtering come into our lives, the harder it is. So,
and I do think a lot of it's quite extreme as well. I mean, you're looking for headlines and big sort of striking bits of news. And sometimes they're all out of proportion until everyone puts into context.
Yeah.
So I think what you're saying is absolutely correct. Switch off the news.
Right. But, I have to say, one thing I have noticed, and I don't have the news on all day in my house, but one thing I have noticed that I'm actually really excited about is I haven't heard of one wrong way driver. I haven't heard of one drunk driver killing somebody else. I haven't heard of a murder. I haven't heard of the normal news every day, which is just bad news. It's not good news. And I haven't heard, really, it's been very minimal. And I think this is a silver lining, right? So being locked in is silver lining. So Carey Conley, Miss Beautiful Carey Conley. For those of you that are listening to us, I want to invite you to go to Facebook as well, like our page. I video all of these live on Facebook, and I do that so that we have the opportunity to be able to showcase the females that we are interviewing. And I think sometimes people just like to watch an interview versus listening to an interview. So it's really like, hey, whatever works for you, works for you. Maybe you listen in your car, maybe you watch on the computer once a week. It's really up to you. But, You're an author, a speaker, and a vision expert. So I don't think you've been on any physical stages lately. I know you're a huge networker. You're at a lot of events. I've seen you at a lot of events that I've been at. And so you're not able to do that. So how has life changed for you in the last 3 weeks?
Well, obviously, as a speaker, you know, all those events have been postponed. So I cleared up my calendar dramatically, not traveling at all. But, you know, it's interesting because I also do a lot online, Colleen. So I was already kind of prepared for all of this. So it's just been more of this, more Zooming, more Facebook Lives. I have been busier now, I think, than I even was before. It's just a different kind of busy. And, you know, I said this to somebody the other day that in our mastermind, actually, I have an entrepreneurial mastermind that I run with several other coaches. And I said, one of the benefits that's coming out of this is people are figuring out where they've been wasting a lot of time. They've been seeing on their calendar, they've been doing a lot of busy stuff that right now doesn't matter. And
so true.
Yes. And I learned that a long time ago. You know, when I lost both my husband and my son, I self-selected isolation for many, many months. And when I started coming back up for air, a lot of those things that I used to do, I didn't do anymore because I was starting to see that, you know, it's just really not intentional. And I just didn't enjoy it as much anymore. So I think one of the best things I think that we will embrace, hopefully after all of this goes away, is that people are going to be a lot more intentional with their time.
Yeah. You know, you hit on some points that I don't know. I'm sure it shocked a few people when you said I lost my husband and my son because we haven't heard your story. So if you don't mind, let's just do a whoop and just kind of rewind it back a little bit. Let's talk about your life. And, you know, you were married, you have a daughter, you have a son, and you were building an online, sometimes in person, empire for yourself as your own boss. And let's talk a little bit about how life was like back then and then what shifted.
Well, I grew up in Colorado, met my husband in high school. We went through college together, got married, and settled in Colorado to raise our kids, and had a son and a daughter. They were 2 years apart. I have been an entrepreneur for 27 years, first in the network marketing industry. And then 8 years ago, I started growing this platform, being the vision expert, walking thousands of people through getting their vision out of their heads and onto paper so they can be very intentional with their life. My son, when I graduated from college, got a job here in Arizona. But right before he started that job, my husband died by suicide. So this was June of 2014. My daughter was still in college. So that's how I ended up here in Arizona, is I followed my son out here to kind of go back and forth between Arizona and Colorado. And then 3 years later, my son also died by suicide. So that was August of 2017. So it's been almost 6 years now since both of the losses. And I've been through a lot of adversity, like a lot of people have. And what we're going through right now is just another one of those things that we have to learn how to adjust with it and find the positive in it and hopefully really embrace what we can do with it for good.
Yeah, I think you hit on a really good point there, where when things are presented to you that are out of your control, you have to find a way to accept it and move forward. But I don't think it was always that way for you because, you know, when it happens, like you said, I did a lot of self-isolating. So we're going to go to a quick break, only because I'm forced to, or I would just talk for 4 hours. And then when we get back, I would love for you to share with our audience what you felt like. And let's maybe see if we can relate with some people out there that are suffering in silence and giving them some advice on things that you did that helped you move forward in your life when you were losing loved ones and you felt all alone. Sound good?
Yes.
All right, you guys, stay with us. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
All right, Accident, all clear.
Okay, Facebook Hey, how are you doing, guys? So I want to say hi to Karina. She's with us right now. We have a few other people, and Karina said, I'm definitely investing in myself and pushing toward my degree. Yes, girl. Yes. You know, I'm also doing something that I've not told anybody about right now because they probably would think I was crazy. But I started working on my real estate license many years ago. What happened though, I was in corporate America as a franchisor, which meant there was a conflict of interest because I helped many franchisees locate space. And so I had commercial real estate brokers as my team, you know, and I had several vendors as my team. But for me to actually have a license and negotiate on their behalf was a direct conflict of interest. So I couldn't do that. So then I was forced with, well, do I stay with the company or get my license? Of course, I stayed with the company because that's what I wanted to do then. But, you know, it came up for me a few months ago and I was like, maybe I will, I don't know, like finish the classes and get through it. So I decided to sign up online again and start going through the classes because it's just, for me, another, and it's crazy because I do Lead Up for Women all day, focusing on how I can build platforms for women. That's what I work on. How can I help them get out in front of the masses every day? What can I do for them to have a larger reach, a more massive exposure, to motivate, educate, and inspire? And when that's done about 7 or 8 o'clock at night, then I'll work on real estate. But this is what I've found. I'm not tired because I love them both. Like I love that side of things with negotiations of contracts and helping people. To me, like I used to help franchisees and CEOs launch businesses. So for me now to have the opportunity to, when I get there, help someone, you know, get the house of their dream or move somewhere out, you know, to a different state and start a different life. It's just kind of something I'll hold in my back pocket it's there. So if I ever want to do it, I can, but that's how I'm educating myself these days.
10 seconds.
Going through class. So,
all right, we're just about to come back.
Okay, thanks. What are you doing these days, Carey, to educate and add a little additional to yourself?
Well, I'm not going to take on any massive new endeavors like that.
Listening to Lead Up for Women. Speak up to lead up. To reach the show today, please call 1-888-346-9141.
Maybe it's only if I sell a house.
888 my next 9141.
Yeah,
you may also send an email to info@leadupforwomen.com.
I haven't told anybody that. So that was
back to this week's show.
Yep. It was just live on Facebook. All right, you guys, we are back. And thank you so much for hanging in there with us. We are so excited that you're here. Today is all about inspiration and motivation. And the ladies I have on the show today are sure to inspire you because they have had some major happenings in their life. And we were just speaking with Carey, and, you know, she, with so much wisdom, talks about how, you know, quickly she was able to get through what she went through with her son passing away, as well as her husband passing away. But I know there was a time in her life where it wasn't that easy, and she self-isolated a lot. So for those that are out there that may be struggling right now with losing a loved one, or just fearful for what's happening and they've lost their jobs, what advice would you give them? That, you know, what did you feel and how did you work through that, Carey?
Well, there's a couple things happening. For some people, this is the first major adversity they've ever had in their life. Yeah. So it's they're hitting the first massive change they've ever felt. And that's why so many people are panicking, and, you know, it's just rocked their world. Yeah. And I understand that feeling, because never in a million years would I have thought, you know, I would have lost my husband and my son, especially to suicide. You just, not possible. Right. So I understand that feeling of being like you're living in a twilight zone kind of thing. You wake up every morning going, is this really happening? Is this really my life? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of different ways people deal with that. My daughter has been going through some counseling. She also went into some support groups, especially when she was in college after she lost her dad. I am not much of a group therapy kind of girl, so I went inward. I spent a lot of time in quiet time, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, Colleen, because the first hour of my day is critical that I am in quiet time. I have to first and foremost get my head on straight, get aligned with God and the universe and what I know is good. And that takes me doing some journaling, reading devotions, meditating, reading affirmations. I do what I call suiting up for the day.
Nice.
Suit up for the day. I don't think a lot of people know how to do that because we've led such run, go, busy lives, which again, I said a minute ago, I see one of the positives coming out of this is people stopping all of that.
Yeah.
So that was critical for me. The other thing is that I have been very, very clear on my life purpose for over 25 years, which is why I teach vision. I wrote my first vision on paper when I was about 26 years old, and out of me writing very, very clearly what I wanted to create my life to look like and aligning with God then, I got very rooted in my purpose, not knowing what it was going to look like, but I am very, very certain that everything that I have gone through and go through now has all lined up to this moment and why I have 10x'd talking about vision and purpose now.
Yeah.
Because so many people, the reason they are feeling so anxious is they don't see what their purpose is and they're giving up. And that really, really scares me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you said TEDx, are you going to do a TEDx?
Or I meant to say 10x. I've 10x my vision.
I was like, wait a minute. Did you get invited to do a TEDx talk? Like, what's happening right now? Are you releasing this to tell me about it?
I would love to do a TEDx. I haven't done one yet, but I meant 10x. I've been 10x in my mission and my purpose.
Yeah.
My daughter and I are aligning, and we co-wrote a book together last year called Keep Looking Up. Talk about our journey, what we've been through. It's 11 chapters defining to people what we learned through all of this in hopes that it can help them go through their own adversity and most especially learn how they can help somebody else, because so many people would come to us and say, I have somebody who's really struggling through something and I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So we shared a lot of that in the book, and we're getting ready to do a virtual event next Friday called Keep Looking Up.
Okay.
Visioning your future in times of uncertainty.
And how can someone sign up for this webinar?
The best way is to keep following me on Facebook, because we're literally putting that event together today in a Facebook event. So keep looking for that and looking for me. We have a whole day planned of talking about some of the things we talk about in the book, why I talk about getting your vision written, especially right now. And I've lined up a whole lot of amazing big name speakers for the day.
That's great.
Yeah.
So it's Carey Conley, CareyConley, and you can find her on Facebook.
Yes.
Great. And then if you are watching us through Facebook or listening to this podcast, and then you want to be able to find her information, find this video from today's date on Facebook, and then all of her contact information will be in the comments section below. I always make sure that we add additional information down there because I believe it's really important to share the information so all of you can reach out to her. You're doing some wonderful, amazing things. You know, are you doing any online workshops right now for anyone who is interested in, you know, Carey, I've got a vision, what you call, okay, this is what's beautiful about a pitch in a business. She calls it a hope, a wish, and a dream. And she helps everybody put that on paper. Oh, I've only heard her say that a couple of times, but it's something that I will never forget because it's very easy to remember and it's very impactful of exactly what it is that you do. So if somebody has that and you want to be able to get it on paper, now's the time. I could jump up and down, Carey, with like the SBA is 0%. There are loans for businesses out there right now for you to be able to start a business, for you to be able to launch and come out of this. And I really feel there's going to be a lot of small businesses emerging out of this. Yes. But maybe, for me, I want to take my power and have the choice and not have to wait for a corporation to lay me off and tell me if I do have a job or a paycheck or not. Right. Mm-hmm. So when you're self-employed, there's a little risk in there, but I also have to say that there's so much reward and joy right through these times.
Well, there definitely is. You just have to be looking for it. It's like you said earlier, Colleen, that you go from panic to seeing the possibilities. I love that. I'm going to quote that later. It all is perspective. And as I said a moment ago, it's harder for people who have not been through anything this level of adversity before. I'm just a little bit more seasoned, like a lot of us on this radio show right now, that we've learned how to get through it and see the good that's coming out of it. And that's what I choose to focus on. And what I'm choosing right now to keep pointing people to all day long on Facebook. I do have an online group mastermind that I'm going to be inviting people into. They can find it on my website already. It's called Vision is Victory Academy, Viv Academy.
Love it.
It's to kick off Monday, April 13th. And it's going to be 6 live group calls with me to help people get their vision out of their head and on paper.
Perfect time.
Yes.
This is the perfect time to be able to do that. So if you've had that little thought in the back of your mind that you wanted to start a business, just get on there and see if, once you start getting that vision on paper, if it's something that is able to then go from paper to reality of creating that business. But you're not going to know unless you work with other people to try and employ it, right?
Correct. And it's not just for people growing a business. It's really for anybody right now who knows that they are not living their life as purposeful and as intentional as they should or could. I just want anybody to get really rock solid on knowing that they matter, that their vision is not an accident.
Yeah.
There is a reason for it tapping at your heart all day long. You just need to get it out of here, because leaving it up here is not good. Much other stuff going on up there. We got to get it out of here and on paper and put some deadlines on some things. That's the other thing I help people do is instead of having that hope and a wish and a prayer someday plan, I help them get it out on paper and put some timelines on some things so that they can every single day do one activity moving them closer to the dream.
So important, Carey. Thank you for being with us today. Any last words or any other way anyone can reach you that you wanted to mention?
They can always join my Facebook group. It's called Vision Driven Life. And I go in there on a regular basis with encouragement. I'm going to start doing what's called Clarity with Carey every Wednesday at about 4 p.m. Pacific time.
Love it.
So I am going to really keep loving and encouraging people through that platform.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Carey, for being with us today and showing up vulnerable with bravery and courage to share your story and inspire those that are listening. I appreciate it. Talk about an inspiring story. Miss Diva.
Hello.
How are you doing today, girl?
I'm doing really well. I feel good. And things have been going great. I'm on alignment with Carey. She helped me out a lot. And I've been putting into practice some of the things that, I learned from her when we met face to face. So it's been good.
Good. So let's talk a little bit about, you've had a really amazing life as far as what you've been able to do. You've been a professional broadcast journalist for years, and you moved to Arizona, and you've just been on, I'm looking right now at your bio and what you shared with me, and you've been on as a product host on Shop A to Z TV, as an entertainment reporter on the show Arizona Entertainment Weekly, and you even won a contest where they took you to LA and you were a guest co-host on GSN Live on the Game Show Network. Like, you're a content contributor for AZ. That's just an amazing, to me, this is just so much. Everything I said, the word probably 4 times, which was contributor. And I feel like everything you go through, you utilize that opportunity to contribute and to give back to mankind. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for what you stand for and who you are, because you're going through a very difficult time right now. So would you like to share with our listeners a little bit about your story and what makes you so freaking awesome?
I love it. Well, for anybody that doesn't know me, yes, you're right. I've been doing broadcast journalism. And the funny thing is that I've never went to college for this. I actually won a radio contest in 2000 back in California in the little town of Salinas, which is an agricultural town. From there, I just started doing more stuff on the radio, took that contest, led a job over here in Arizona, and then just started growing myself as a broadcast journalist, from radio to TV to print, and learning along the way. And, I had a good life. I've interviewed celebrities. I've traveled a lot. I've had some fun. And I've just sort of used my personality to my advantage in the gift of gab, and always, finding ways to come up and be creative with content and finding a way to contribute something that maybe someone else didn't have that would benefit either their platform, their show, their format. And it's worked to my advantage. But, things did start to change as I got a little bit older, and my health, which was something I had always taken care of myself, from working out 6 days a week, watching how I ate, and just, doing what I thought was the right thing to do. My health in 2018 took a turn for the extreme worst. As a non-smoker, I was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, which wound up spreading to my lower spine, my pelvis, and the top of my right shoulder. Insane. Absolutely insane.
Insane. Yes.
Insane. But from that experience, I've always just taken, like I've done throughout my whole life, the power of positivity and just try to find that silver lining. And I started to look at it because I also do stand-up comedy. So I looked at it as a way of, well, it's just an obstacle, something in my life that I'm going to have to get over. And I told my doctor from day one, I have no plans of going anywhere, so we're going to have to find a cure. And from that, because it's all mental, everything you do, from the thought that you have from the first thing in the morning when you wake up to the time you go to bed, it's on how you execute it. So everything was mental. So I just kept telling myself, I'm going to get better. I'm going to get back to hiking Camelback Mountain. My back's going to heal. I'm going to wear my high heel shoes. I'm going to have some normalcy in my life, but it's going to take work. And it was the hardest fight physically I've ever had to do in my life, but I've been doing it. And because I've started to share from day one my story on social media with videos and my experience, so people can see how someone who went from being extremely healthy could get this horrible disease and still come out on top with a sense of humor, it started to open up doors of conversation, which has been a blessing. So, news outlets started to pick me up and want to do my story. Print outlets wanted to do my story. Individuals who didn't even know me were seeing me on social media, or they were coming when at the time before when I was doing comedy, and they heard about me. They were like, my daughter just got diagnosed and she's scared. Friends would say, you need to get to know Danielle. She'll show you the way to not be scared, to just, get through this, because that's all it is. It's a process that you have to get through, but it's all mind over matter.
Yeah. That's an inspiring story. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I know when others are able to, as Carey had mentioned, to be able to come through adversity and survive, and then thrive, not just come out on the other end barely surviving, but thrive through what you go through. I follow you on social media as well. And for those of you that don't, you need to. What is your social media handles for people to follow you?
Well, on Facebook, it's just under my first and last name, Danielle Williams. And on Instagram, it's the #1 and only Diva Danielle, because that's sort of like my little side handle. I've been using Diva for, oh my gosh, years. And it's just become my
Please
brand.
Share where Diva came from. I want to know, where did
it was so funny, because I would literally sometimes forget people's names. So I'd go, Diva, how are you today? Diva, what's happening in your world? And it just stuck. And so I just always call myself Diva. And I would sometimes talk to about myself in the third person, like, this Diva is like ready for this, This Diva is going to make this happen, and we are about ready to pop off here, just have fun with it. And then it just stuck. And then people would just say, have you seen Diva? Have you heard what Diva's doing? And then they would just address me as Diva. And because just everything I was doing just sort of centered around that. So it just sort of stuck, and it just happened to be the platform. And ever since I got the cancer, it was just the most random thing, because when we told people, it was, mind blowing. But it was just, well, let's see, how Diva's going to overcome this. And people rallied around me, and the comedians threw, benefits for me to raise money. And it's just been a blessing in disguise. And after I had met Carey and stuff, and I had been doing things with the American Lung Association, started doing speaking engagements on positivity and the power of mind over matter to get through things. I just started to feel like, this is all of the work I had done prior to getting cancer, doing television, radio, print, being a contributor and looking at things differently and being able to add content and value to things. I thought, this is my purpose in life. This is the reason why I got the cancer. It's because I have a bigger platform, a bigger stage, and a bigger opportunity to help not only myself, but others going forward. So I just looked at it as an extension of doing media in a different way with a different platform and using my voice to speak volumes and to help others get through one of the most difficult times of their life, but to see it in a positive light, but also with a sense of humor. And it's opened up so many doors. And unfortunately, because of COVID-19, this year I was supposed to go to Washington, D.C. I was invited. They paid for my trip to come speak before Congress to let them know how I have changed my life and transformed others,
right?
So I can help make a change for non-smokers who get lung cancer.
Right. So we have to run to a quick break, and I didn't want to let the cat out of the bag about you going to Washington and going to Capitol Hill just yet. So hold on to that. When we get back, we're going to talk a little bit more about when you're going to go to Capitol Hill, why you're going to Capitol Hill, and how people can follow you on your journey. So everybody stay with us. We'll be right back.
All right, great. All clear. Back in about 2.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
What a group.
My background, I noticed back here. I got to stay.
Colleen,
yeah.
Colleen, can I ask something? Because
absolutely,
fantastic stories that Kira and also Diva has. But Danny, what about your story? Colleen, I don't know really very much about your backstory and why you've ended up being inspired to do this. Where did that come from initially from you? Because I'm interested in you as well.
My story?
Yeah.
Yeah, people probably tired of hearing my story. I don't really talk much about me when I'm on the radio. It's about the guests, but mine was really from a corporate background. And if I wanted to go all the way back, my story really started with my low self-esteem and low confidence that I had all the way back when I was about 12 years old, when my parents got divorced and my dad just said, she's not worth $100 a month. I'm not paying. And so I heard that conversation, and that stuck with me for my entire life. And then I really kind of became a very calloused, locked in a cage. Nobody can hurt me. You couldn't pierce that armor if you tried, right? And I think, I know, I'm not even going to say I think, I know as women, we have to work hard at staying vulnerable and available and open, because it's easy to lock ourselves away. And I had a girlfriend ask me one time, have you always been this way, or did you build up this shell that you have around you over time? And I was like, what are you talking about? She was like, oh, I see you. Like, I know what's happening. And so that was really why I got divorced a couple of times. That was why I just wouldn't let anybody close to me to really love me. And about 11 years ago, when I met my husband, and I was a great employee, career-wise, all of that. And I, excelled in my careers and things that I did, but I just couldn't have close personal relationships with people because I just wouldn't let anybody in. And I had to work through a lot of therapies. And, now I celebrate my past and divorces that I've had. I've apologized
12
and,
seconds, 12.
have let things go. And so I wasn't fond of competition in corporate America. I wasn't fond of labels and people putting me in a box. So once you get out and you unlock the cage and come out, you kind of wake up. And when you wake up, you realize, wait a minute, now others are trying to put me in a box and in a cage. And then you just search freedom for yourself. And I learned how to tap into my power through community and
346-9141.
And I wanted
1-888
other women to have the opportunity.
You may also send an email to info@leadupforwomen.com. Now, back to this week's show.
That's my story. All right, you guys, welcome back. I am so excited that you're with us. We are on the home stretch of today's podcast, which is super sad because I'm really excited. We've had some great conversations today, extremely relative to what we're going through. And before we hop to a quick break, we were talking with the beautiful diva, Danielle Williams. And I say follow her on social media because you'll see her in the middle of getting chemo, all dressed up, her hair done, in a beautiful outfit, heels that are like 6 inches high, just dressed like she's going out on the town. And it's very inspiring. It's very inspiring because sometimes I just feel like sitting on the couch on Sunday and you're in the middle of chemo. All dressed up. So you inspire me. And obviously you inspire others if you've had an invitation to go to Capitol Hill. And I'm so sad right now that that's been put on hold, but tell us how that happened.
Well,
how the opportunity came to you.
Well, the opportunity presented itself last year when I was invited to be the guest speaker for the American Lung Association's breakfast. And then from there, I started networking with them. And then I was the guest speaker and I hosted an event for Cancer Treatment Centers of America. And then just through networking and meeting people and them seeing my social media presence and the traction I was gaining, they thought Danielle would be a great person to speak on what the American Lung Association does because of the way she's handled her cancer. So I became sort of like this champion, which is great because I have an outgoing personality and I also have this mental mindset that, you know, you should have no fear, which is one of the things that's the hardest thing to do because the only thing that people can do is either say yes or no when you put yourself out there to ask. So you get this tough skin over years, but you're also still a little bit vulnerable, but you know how to handle it because you've been preparing yourself for it. So with that, I just started to continue networking and then they started seeing my videos, my posts, the articles I've been in, the TV appearances. And so they were like, yes, this would be a great person because nobody's doing it the way Diva Danielle is doing it. And that's what made a difference. So the whole plan was to go to Washington, D.C., be with other lung force heroes, individuals who are going through lung cancer as non-smokers, share my story and help make a difference. And I was going to be the Arizona representative. Well, the good news is that they postponed it. So we get to go next year. So trip is still going to be paid for, taken care of. And I feel like this is a blessing in disguise because now I get a chance to learn more, to grow and become better equipped. So when I go over there, they're going to be like, who is this girl? And, you know, you just never know because my whole thing is that I want major media outlets to see that change needs to happen. And then there's work that I can still do on my level here in order for that change to happen. So that's what I'm really excited about. So I've been putting things in place to kind of make that happen and just creating and using my background and my experience. So one of the things I did is I took the opportunity, because you have so much downtime, to go and I shot just a few of my own PSA style lung cancer videos to give people little informations and updates about things they might not know about lung cancer and directing them to the American Lung Association's website. So if you do it and you create it, because you can tell people all day the things you can do and the benefits that'll come from it, but until they see it and they can embrace it and wrap their arms around it and make it their own, it doesn't have any value. So that's why I decided to do these videos so people can start to understand. And then from that, it's going to trickle into other things that I'll be doing because I have a plan, because I have purpose and I have dates and timelines like Miss Carey Conley showed me how to do on my vision board. So it's good. It's good. So it's working out and things are aligning themselves, but I'm just using this time as a blessing, like I said, to get myself more prepared. So when I do go to Washington, it'll be like, where has she been? Who is this girl? And then they'll all be like, on their lips at once. I'll know it because my hair will be blowing in the wind. I'll have a theme music in the background and they'll all go, "It's Diva."
That's so great.
So it'll be good.
She has a complete vision for exactly what that day is going to look like.
I have my outfit. I've got a new wig that I'm probably going to order online. It's going to be beautiful.
Good. That's what we need to do. What'd you say, Carey?
I have no doubt.
Right.
Yes.
No, I'm not going to say I know awareness is equally as important as treatment. It really is, if not even more important, because until the awareness is elevated and people are familiar with what to look for signs or things that can cause it or whatever it may be, especially, you being a non-smoker. And, I think the warning signs are out there for people that smoke. Hey, this could cause lung cancer. But for those that don't smoke, there's no warning of a Surgeon General running around in your ear going, hey, maybe you could get lung cancer. I don't know, just maybe, right? But I think the awareness needs to be there. And I'm thankful that we have women, you, Diva, that are trailblazing this path all the way to Capitol Hill for women to build the awareness and for us to know more about it.
Yes, absolutely. And that was my whole thing. And that was my whole sort of like my little campaign push. I said, we need to change the landscape to let people know that it has nothing to do around smoking. We need people to know that this is a new sort of era that we're living in because of air quality, lifestyle, food, environment, stress levels. So we need to have commercials that reflect that. We need to have pamphlets. We need to have information in medical magazines that reflect that if you have lungs, you can get lung cancer. If you've never smoked and lived a healthy life, you can get lung cancer. It needs to dispel everything that has to do with smoking and focus on where we are today now. So that's my whole goal, is to be the face of a national campaign so people can say, if it can happen to me, it can happen to you.
Well, I love it. And I'm a big supporter. And thank you for sharing that story with us today. I mean, that is the bravery that you have. And I'm telling you all, you have to go follow her on social media because it's just inspiring. And the content that you put out on social media, you live a life and just inspired. And you live your life on purpose to inspire. And, you mentioned something, I just want to highlight that, at the end of our show here. And Carey mentioned this and Kay mentioned this, but we're all unique. So you do it the Diva way. And that's what, and that's the only way you know how. And I think that's an important point for us to make, because Carey didn't know how she was supposed to grieve and how she was supposed to get back up and walk through life as if she could do this, right, without her husband or her son. It's she just did it the way Carey knew how. And that's an important point, because we're all very unique, and that's what makes us so freaking awesome and so special. And I've heard these undercurrent tones of people saying, when I've met, hey, get on Facebook Live, I'll tell them, go have a webinar about it, or go talk to people on Facebook Live. And no, there's too many people on have you heard this, Carey? You're shaking your head. Yes. Yeah. There's too many people on Facebook Live right now. I don't really want to do that. There's too many people teaching yoga, or too many people doing this or doing that. It's like, well, then why were they ever coming to your yoga class before? Because they like you. They want to see you. So, I want to send the message to everybody today that what makes you so awesome is you.
Right.
So get out there and do what it is that you want to do, and do it your way. Be the diva in your life and do it your way, and influence others, inspire others, and motivate others along the way. And do not compete or cut anybody else down. That is a no zone in my area of the world, which is, let's not judge other people, because that's not why we're here. And it's really none of your business what anybody else thinks about you, because it's whatever their insecurities are anyway. And I know that once you believe that, because I had to go through that belief, once you go through that belief and you truly deep down know that, then you can conquer anything because you believe in yourself and you're not waiting for somebody else to give you permission to lead your life to Capitol Hill or to lead your life as now a, single mother, like Carey is, who once was in a family of 4, who's now in a family of 2. And everything that happened in her life, just as Kay Hutchison inspired them to do more, be more, and to have more. And that's possible, right, Carey? Shaking her head again. Yeah.
Well, it's not only possible, it's necessary.
Necessary. Love it.
What I've been saying to everybody lately is that, you have a choice. You either shrink and shut down, or you use this and take responsibility for your mindset, which Danielle is so great at. And, we're all called to serve. At the end of the day, our purpose as humans is service.
Absolutely. Well,
So,
I would go ahead.
No, that's it. Y'all need to serve.
Perfect. So let's do that. Everybody get out and figure out how to serve online, call somebody, text somebody, text someone you haven't talked to in a while and tell them you're thinking about them. I'm so happy you guys were with us today. Next week on April 8th, we've got Leslie Bear-Dinkle. She's the executive director of Local Hope Guatemala, a nonprofit. She's done amazing work in Guatemala. Please join me for that. And I have Doria Cordova with us. Super excited. She's a powerhouse queen and is the owner and CEO of Money and You. Who doesn't want to talk about money? I mean, come on, you got to join me. So I'm super excited about next week's show. Thank you, ladies, for being with me today. And my last comment is, remember, you are the only you that has ever been, and you are the only you that will ever be. So how you pioneer your future is all up to you. So be you and be strong and have a wonderful week. Be kind to others. Bye, you guys.
Thanks, Colleen.
Bye, Colleen. Thank you very much.
All right, awesome job,
Thank
ladies.
you.
All clear.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. See you, Facebook. Everyone say goodbye to Facebook.
Bye, Facebook.